Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Lewis Foster.
Faster my good evening. It's 5:30 and this is Update for Tuesday the 28th of November 2023 from Manx Radio. Lewis Foster here, bringing you a 30-minute look at the latest news on the Isle of Man, plus background to the news, Manx sport, business, Sea Watch and travel updates, and the newsmakers in person. This evening, more than £6 million spent on reports, a ban on livestock importation, a step closer for a ban on children vaping, more than 1,500 students suspended, and Manx golfer Ana Dawson starts her debut professional campaign.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
Now with the time at 29 minutes before 6 with the Update News headlines. Faster my, Siobhan Fletcher.
Faster my. Our top story this evening, nurses on the Isle of Man have voted to accept the latest pay offer from Manx Care. We'll have more on this in just a moment. The Isle of Man Steam Packet Company has confirmed drinking water is not currently available to passengers travelling on the Manxman. It's due to an issue with air in the water supply. And police are still looking for 30-year-old John Paul Fale, who's wanted for an arrest in relation to an ongoing serious investigation. He's advised to turn himself in at police headquarters. Further afield, India's Prime Minister says the rescue of 41 construction workers who've spent more than 2 weeks trapped in a tunnel is an amazing example of humanity. 900 UK jobs are going at Barclays. Unions are furious they're being laid off ahead of Christmas. And sin bins are likely to be trialled in professional football leagues around the world after a meeting of the sport's lawmakers. They'll also test new rules, meaning only team captains can approach referees in the hope it'll improve behaviour. They're your headlines. News at 6.
Secure tomorrow today with Man Benham's guidance on powers of attorney and more. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Gurmayad, thank you, Siobhan. The Ronaldsway Met Office has issued a yellow weather warning for frost and ice coming into force at 8 o'clock this evening until 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Ground temperatures are expected to fall below zero, leading to a risk of icy patches forming in areas that are damp or wet from today's showers. We're being warned temperatures may be slow to recover tomorrow morning. Otherwise, tomorrow will be dry and bright with sunny spells, light to moderate northeast wind and temperatures only up to 6 degrees. Dry but generally cloudy on Thursday with some brighter spells developing in the afternoon, light to moderate northeast winds and a maximum temperature again of 6 degrees. Sunrise tomorrow is at 8:10, sunset in the afternoon at 4:02.
Manx Glass and Glazing are proud to be an approved contractor with Construction Isle of Man. Call the team on 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
Now, starting with that news we've had through in the last few moments, I'm joined in the studio by our news editor Tessa Hawley, who has the latest about a deal struck between the Royal College of Nursing and Manx Care. Tessa, what can you tell us?
Thanks, Lewis. So we can confirm this evening that nurses on the Isle of Man have voted to accept the latest pay offer from Manx Care. The Royal College of Nursing says 71% of its members have agreed to accept the deal, and that follows 2 days of strike action earlier this year. The turnout for the vote was 50%. The RCN says the pay offer that its members have accepted is made up of a consolidated increase of £1,500. That's to each pay point and is with effect from the 1st of April 2022. It's in addition to a 6% increase that's already been implemented. The RCN says it's pleased that this long-standing dispute has finally reached a conclusion, but it's saddened that members had to resort to strike action to reach this point. The union adds that now feels like an unnecessary disruption to what is already a very strained service, when this could have been resolved much more simply. In the statement, the RCN adds our members deserve to be valued for the highly complex skills they possess and for the work they do to uphold the health service, and we stand by their decision to take the action they did. They finish, there is no doubt that our strike action prompted Manx Care to open talks.
Guramayan. Thank you, Tessa Hawley. Now, more than 1,500 secondary school students were formally suspended in the 2022 to 23 school year. The Education Minister, Julie Edge, has revealed the figures in the House of Keys today. Miss Edge faced questions from Douglas North member David Ashford and Douglas Central's Anne Corlett.
Across our 32 primary schools in the academic year 22-23, approximately 58 children have been formally suspended and 114 have been informally suspended from school. Across our 5 secondary schools in the academic year 22-23, approximately 1,505 children have been formally suspended and 950 have been informally suspended from school.
Would the Minister agree with me that those figures are absolutely horrendous when you consider the actual size of our school population?
Certainly, obviously it is something that would always be looked into, but I do believe that these are possibly sessions rather than individual children, so there could be 100 children suspended a number of sessions, but I will clarify that and come back to the Honourable Member on that.
Can I just ask the Minister to explain to us what is the difference between a formal suspension and an informal suspension?
A formal suspension would be obviously the severity of the incident. So the sessions, for a suspension for a full day, it would be classed as 2 sessions on our registers. So obviously it's morning registration, afternoon registration. So that would be 2 sessions, and obviously that is down to the severity. An informal suspension, when a student is sent home, depending on the situation and what has happened, some of our students will be sent home to cool off. Teachers will have that professional conversation with the young individual, and it's then classed as an informal suspension, and they might just be sent home for part of the day with regards to that, whereas a formal suspension does have that specified timescale, so they'd be sent home and it'd be a 1-day, 2-day suspension. But cooling off is certainly utilised at secondary level to give students that opportunity to reflect and come back into school the following day, and hopefully it's picked up from there.
Government has placed an immediate ban on the importation of livestock to the Isle of Man following confirmed cases of the disease blue tongue in the UK. Blue tongue can reduce milk production and cause infertility in some farm animals. Manx National Farmers Union General Secretary Sarah Comish says the union welcomes the move.
Outbreaks of blue tongue, they seem to be quite under control at the moment down in Canterbury, but it's obviously a very debilitating disease. It can have some very damaging effects on livestock and on a farm business as well. And for welfare reasons, it's something that we definitely don't want to get on island. I think the whole industry would support this decision and be glad that the department has responded so quickly. Certainly, it gives us all a little bit of time to work out what could be done next so that when imports are required, we have something in place to prevent the disease getting to the island.
Will anyone be affected, cost-wise, or could we perhaps have any shortages in the weeks to come?
No, I think the livestock that we've got on island at this time of year, shouldn't be affected by what is hopefully a temporary ban on imports. As we go on further into next year, we would hope to potentially have in place some pre-import testing system to enable imports as and when they're needed. But certainly for this time of year, it's not caused any undue pressure on the industry that we're aware of.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates.
A ban on children possessing vaping products moved a step closer in Legislative Council today. Manx Radio's political correspondent Phil Gaughan reports.
Diane Kelsey MLC steered the vaping products bill through its final LegCo stage this week. She tells us what the bill aims to address.
To make vaping safer for everybody, put regulations around it such that we don't overly criminalise vaping because it has its place, but most importantly, to protect children from harms, both from harms of vaping, but also harms from criminalisation in any way. And unfortunately, it's not just the law that could criminalise them. If they get into being used by organised crime to provide vapes, or even just think it's a good way of making money, it's trying to get across to people this is not going to be an acceptable way forward. And public health is very keen to ensure that people understand the harms that are done to young people and the unnecessary harms that they put themselves through. It's become a very normalised, routine thing for people to do because it's currently legal, and we are trying to find a way to change that dialogue and reduce the normality of something which is harmful to children.
Has enough been done to make people aware of the bill's provisions, which criminalise possession of vaping products in certain circumstances?
So I think we all have a part to play here. Even this interview is part of that process. And as the royal assent and then approval comes into place probably in the next few months, we need to prepare the ground now. We need to impress on young people that if they're under 18, this will become illegal. But what I must stress is at no stage are we trying to criminalise young people. This is about reducing the harms.
The bill returns to Keys for a technical amendment, but could come into force early next year.
Sea Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
Well, on the sailings this evening, a slight change to the schedule. Manxman departing Douglas for Heysham half an hour later than planned at 8:15 due to tidal conditions in Douglas Harbour once again. The return from Heysham, scheduled for 2:15, brought forward to 1 a.m. for the same reason. You're asked to check in no later than midnight. Tomorrow, though, so far the schedule unaffected for the first time in a few days. The Manxman set to depart for Heysham in the morning at the normal time of 8:45. Any changes, we'll let you know.
Like the Steam Packet on Facebook for the latest sailing information.
Now, it's been a memorable year so far for Manx golfer Ana Dawson, who's been taking part in her debut campaign as a professional player. With this season coming to a close, she's told Manx Radio what she's enjoyed most about making the step up and what's to come for the future.
It's been probably a lot more intense than what I was expecting. Obviously, I've played a lot of tournaments, a lot of longer tournaments, but I mean, I've absolutely loved it, which obviously I think first and foremost is the most important thing. And it was good to have a couple good results in there too. You can always reflect on seasons and wish there was other aspects that were better as well. But all in all, as a whole, for the first year, I've learnt a lot and I think it went pretty well. I've loved the travel, going to so many different countries, every week has been amazing. It's not often we get the chance to actually go and see places while we're there. But I think just being around, playing different course every week and loads of different cultures and different people, I think that's been so fun. And the setup as well it feels professional, I mean, obviously I am a professional now, but it's still pretty fun to kind of get to go to these really nice courses and play on them competitively every week. I think that's probably one of the best parts as well. Getting into the playoff in the Rose event was really fun. To make a birdie down the last as well, to get into it was good fun. It was really tricky conditions and I had Shirley Price on the bag as well, and it was the first time I've ever been in a playoff or anything like that. So I think that was just honestly really cool to kind of be a part of. And then, leading the tournament in Prague, getting to see my name up at the top of the leaderboard and Gentleman flag up at the top of the leaderboard, that was definitely really good fun as well, and definitely gave me motivation to want to keep it up there for a little bit longer next time. It's kind of been non-stop, so even since I finished my last tournament on the LET, I've been straight to China and then Hong Kong and then straight to Dubai and then straight to Morocco and then straight to Portugal. That's all been realistically in prep for Key School, so I have to go back to Ladies European Tour qualifying school starting in a couple of weeks.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
The final ever Audi TT, the car named after the famous Isle of Man motorcycle races, has rolled off the production line. The car was a grey TTS and completed on the 10th of November, 25 years, 8 months and 3 weeks since the very first model in 1998. Elsewhere, the first transatlantic flight by a large passenger plane powered only by alternative fuels has taken off. Operated by Virgin Atlantic, it's flying from London's Heathrow to New York's JFK Airport. Airlines see the flight, which is supported by UK government funding, as demonstrating that a greener way of flying is possible. And the former boss of Wilko has apologised to the thousands of people who lost their jobs when the high street store went bust. Lisa Wilkinson told UK MPs the chain ran out of cash. For a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com.
The Stock Market Report, brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
At the close, the FTSE 100 down 0.07% to 7,455.24. The Dow Jones in New York currently up 0.48%. The Nasdaq up 0.39%. And the S&P 500 in Chicago up 0.36% to 4,566.76. In currencies, the British pound sterling trading at $1.27 up 0.54%, and up 0.2% trading at €1.155.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, and you pay in monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future. For a house, or the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
A Tynwald committee is to look into the issue of vexatious litigation on the Isle of Man. It follows a petition submitted to the court on Tynwald Day by Manx resident Mark Cleater. He spent over 10 years fighting his case over land given to him by his father, something he says has left him with endless legal bills and at risk of losing his house.
Once you dip your toe in and you start to look into what's going on the Isle of Man, my circumstances led to meeting other people, quite a few other people, and I then actually did reach out to anybody I saw on the court listings who looked like they might be suffering something similar, and I discovered a common denominator. So it was very obvious what was going on when you look at the judgments, when you look at the past. So I have my own view about how judgments should be made and the way that previous history should be actually considered before a judgment is actually made. So if I can see that, I don't understand why the legal system or our deemsters basically aren't able to exercise powers in order to stop this kind of thing happening. If they took into account previous actions and how many times said person was actually in court, a different position really ought to be taken. It's very obvious that people are having their lives ruined. Mine has been completely changed, that of mine and my family. It's completely different now, and I'm quite sure it's happened to others. Even 20 years ago, Tynwald were discussing the same situation, and unfortunately it just seems to get pushed off down the long grass as new administrations come in. I'm absolutely determined, bearing in mind it's 4 years now since I previously put a petition in referring to vexatious litigation. I really think things should happen a little bit quicker.
Manx Radio Sport.
With a look at today's sporting news, Faster My, Amy Griffiths.
Faster My, good evening. Entries for the 2024 Manx Telecom Parish Walk open on Friday. Anyone wanting to take part is encouraged to enter early before the £40 entrance fee is raised to £50 from the 1st of March. Taking place on the 22nd to 23rd of June, the annual event sees participants attempt a challenging 85-mile circuit through the island's 17 parishes, touching each parish church gate as you pass. Starting at 8 o'clock in the morning from the NSC in Douglas, you've got 24 hours to complete the route. You don't have to do the full circuit, of course, but you'll get a finisher's award if you do. Closing date for Parish Walk entries is the 5th of May. Nominations for the 2023 Isle of Man Sports Awards are opening on Thursday. People will be invited to select the athletes, teams and officials who they think are worthy of being nominated for each of the 12 categories. The awards will be held at the Villa Marina Royal Hall on Wednesday the 28th of February 2024. Nominees must be Manx born and have contributed to Manx sport or have resided on the island for at least 2 years. And Douglas Rugby Club says 150 boys and girls took part in the inaugural Tag Rugby Schools Cup. The club says it was a day of high drama, passion, commitment and some excellent rugby skills were on show. A team from Ballacottia Primary School, the Ballacottia Bravehearts, came out on top after a thrilling cup final against the Arbury Aces, the score 7-4. The Laxey Lions and Ashley Hill Aces were the winners of the Plate and Shield competitions respectively. The club says a fun afternoon was most definitely had and we look forward to hosting the event next year.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Over at the airport, flights in and out relatively on time this afternoon and shortly departing the 6 o'clock Loganair flight to Liverpool on time. And the last flight to depart this evening, the 8:10 to Gatwick, no problems expected there so far. On the roads in Douglas until Thursday, temporary lights on Devonshire Road at the junction with Devonshire Crescent for sewer work. That section of Switzerland Road also closed for construction work. In Braddon until Friday, temporary lights on Cool Road at the Isle of Man Business Park roundabout, 24 hours a day for drainage work. In Glenmay until the 8th of December, the Aracy Road is closed from Glenmay to the Shoulder Road for resurfacing. In Colby until the 11th of December, temporary lights on the main road at the junction with Ballakil Ferrick Road, 24 hours a day for water main work. In Port Erin until Friday, temporary lights on Station Road at the Ballafesson Road junction, 24 hours a day for gas main work. In Sulby until the 15th of December, the Clannock Road is closed for resurfacing. In Lezayre until Thursday between Ramsey and St Jude's, temporary lights on the Jerby Road, 9:30 to 3:30 each day for tree maintenance. And in Laxey until Thursday, temporary lights on the main road near Church Hill, 24 hours a day for gas main work. And the Mountain Road has now reopened, of course, after being shut today for emergency drainage work. That reopened around 3 o'clock.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre. Spread your payments interest-free. Get more with
Quayside. Government has spent more than £6.2 million on reports from external consultants since October 2021. Figures published by Chief Minister Alfred Cannon show 170 reports have been commissioned since the start of the current administration, with 7 costing in excess of £250,000. Sean Cowper reports.
The details have been released following a Tynwald written question from Douglas South MHK Claire Christian, who wanted to know the cost for each report commissioned from an external provider since October 2021. The actual costs haven't been included due to commercial confidentiality, but the information has been sorted into bands of spend. Just one report, the ongoing COVID review, is expected to cost in excess of £1 million. 2 fell into the second highest band of £750,000 to £1 million, the KPMG report on government's economic strategy, and a report into cost improvement by the Liverpool University Hospital's NHS Foundation Trust on behalf of Manx Care. 4 cost between £250,000 and £500,000, while 8 fell into the £100,000 to £250,000 bracket, including a review into the role of the Attorney General and a report by Arup for the Cabinet Office on the Liverpool ferry terminal. A further 20 reports cost £20,000 to £50,000, including reviews into the Office of Human Resources and the regional swimming pools. A further 20 reports cost £20,000 to £50,000, including reviews into the Office of Human Resources and the regional swimming pools. The report into the sex education curriculum, a review of the Chief Secretary's office, and a report into birth rate planning were among the 34 reports costing £10,000 to £20,000, while a further 92 cost under £10,000. Those falling into the lowest cost band include a report on the development and use of artificial intelligence, a cannabis-based medicinal project, disability access at Laxey Glen, and a feasibility study for mountain bike trails. The published data excludes reports for capital schemes such as feasibility reports, data for the legislature, and Manx National Heritage.
Discussions became lively in the House of Keys over plans to drill for gas in Manx waters. Douglas Central's Chris Thomas, who's the former infrastructure minister, asked a number of questions about Kroger. He wanted to know if the Energy Board, whose chair is Chief Minister Alfred Cannon, will authorise a varying of the company's licence to allow it to drill without a 3D seismic survey.
It has been suggested quite widely, I believe, that drilling without a 3D seismic survey is likely to be reckless and out of sequence even with Kroger's initial plan, especially as Kroger seems to be insufficiently funded start-up company operating in practically what could be called a greenfield site on land near the Ramsey Marine Conservation Area in a UNESCO biosphere on a field with prospects but very limited and very old data. Does the Chief Minister not agree that an experienced partner or a new technically and financially capable licence holder is needed to do the job right, to properly steward our nation's natural gas?
This was not a question, Mr. Speaker, of the company trying to circumvent, according to them, 3D seismic. They absolutely have openly admitted, as he well knows, and has been demonstrated from that answer that I've just given, and I read that directly from the information that is already in the public arena, that they are intending to do 3D seismic on the basis that they can establish from an appraisal well, which has already been evidenced there is gas in that reservoir, that they can successfully extract. The questions about the structure of the business, the financing of the business, I think really if the former minister had done his homework, he would have the answers to the questions that he is posing. And if he is so bothered about it, Mr. Speaker, why didn't he just say no 12 months ago? If he was that bothered, if he's that bothered, why did he not just say no 12 months ago?
And a farmer from the north of the island says he's hopeful he'll be able to continue to sell his produce to Tesco following the retail giant's expansion. Stuart Allinson is of Allinson's Manx Produce.
We're fortunate here at Rendu Farm. We have got irrigation, but there's a lot of work and a lot of expense in getting the irrigation up, moving it round. And then, as you say, later on in the season, it got very wet, and that has its own challenges, getting in the fields. The too much wet can cause fungal problems. You know, the root crops in the ground, they don't like it too wet. And even the foliage crops above the ground, it can affect, you know, the leaves of the cabbage with black spots and things like that. We've had quite a warm season. You know, we were harvesting potatoes very late this year. We were into November before we got the harvest finished. And, you know, that was quite unusual on two counts. One, we're not normally that late. And two, it's certainly not normally that warm. I've certainly known frosts, you know, for the 26th of October. I think one year we had quite a hard frost, so it has stayed mild for a good while. We've got regular customers who buy from us. Robinsons have supported us for, probably 40 years now. They obviously sell into the ShopRite network. The ShopRite network, as you know, you've reported on Manx Radio, has now been sold to Tesco. We are fortunate. We do supply Tesco with some produce, and I'm certainly talking with Tesco and hoping to carry on with these sales with the Tesco once they take over in the ShopRite stores. Tesco have told me, you know, they will continue taking similar quantities to what Robinsons have been taking in the ShopRite. So at the moment, hopefully, yes, all's going well. We've got a government that's quite supportive of the industry. So yes, I think there's reason to be optimistic.
That's it for updates compiled from the resources of the Manx Radio newsroom, thanks to newsreader Siobhan Fletcher and producer Amy Griffiths.
One Castrol oil change, 1 year's engine warranty, zero worries. And that's a promise. Quayside Tyre and Service Centre, the island's approved Castrol service centre, now offer a 1 year free Castrol engine warranty. Available to those who have had their oil change with selected Castrol Edge, Magnatec or GTX products. All available at Quayside Tyres. Book your next service online at tyres.im. T's and C's apply.
Quayside! Manx Glass and Glazing can undertake replacement double glazing windows and doors for customers, support for which may be available through the government's Green Living Grant Scheme. To improve your home and save money on making it more energy efficient, call the Manx Glass and Glazing team on 674 573 or visit the showroom on Snugborough Trading Estate. An approved contractor by Construction IOM, Manx Glass and Glazing can transform your home with government grants potentially available. Terms and qualifying conditions apply.
It's good to talk. It's how we get things done. So when you apply for a personal loan from Black Horse, you'll get support from one of our relationship managers who's there to talk you through your application. You could borrow up to £50,000 with up to 7 years to pay it back, and you could receive your money within 24 hours of approval. Ready to talk? Go to blackhorseoffshore.co.uk to request a call back today. Finance subject to status. Applicants must be 18 or over.
Unwrap the ultimate Apple bundle this Christmas with Shaw. Get all your favourites this festive season for £39 per month. Our great value offer includes the iPhone SE, iPad and Apple Watch. Get yours today. Visit us in store or online at shaw.com. T's and C's apply.
Go best for new garage doors. Go best. Protect you and yours. Go best. Fully guaranteed. Go best. They're the ones you need.
For the best garage doors and gates, security shutters, sliding glass doors, railings, the Garage Door and Gate Automation Company is still the first choice. Celebrating 25 years in business. Visit manxgaragedoors.com or our showroom at Isle of Man Business Park.
Strandvets.com. Taking on new equine patients. Prompt appointments, test results, instant x-rays, horse health plan from $18.50 a month, dental care and more.